Hey writing gang, school yang, everyone gathered around. Today I'm going to be reading the 4th chapter of my dystopian science fiction ebook, Strand, the Silver Radio. I'm going to have a couple exciting new announcements to share with you guys, so stay tuned to the end for that. But really quick before I start reading, I just wanted to share a word of encouragement to new authors. If you're doubting your story, if you're doubting yourself, just keep writing. Just keep believing in yourself. The road can get dark, and it's honestly really hard with the state of the industry right now. Really believe in yourself, but if I could see where I am now a year ago, I wouldn't believe it. And it's not an I'm famous now story. It's an I'm living the way I want to live, and I'm pursuing my passion. And I get to do that every day. And you deserve that too. Give yourself the kindness of feeling down for a little bit. It's really getting to you. But never forget the crucial step of brushing the dust off your shoulders and picking up the pen again. Don't give up on your story, because the world will be all the poorer for losing it. When last we left our protagonist, the delinquent artist Quincy Femino, he had just narrowly escaped the clutches of the Bolt Rangers led by Christoph Rains and returned home only to be found by his uncle Percy. Without further ado, here comes Chapter 4 of Strand, the Silver Radio, Academy for the Average. What Quincy got that night wasn't really sleep. It was more of a wakeless trance, in which he replayed his conversation with Uncle Percy until the beacon lit the terror layer outside. He never really slept, not anymore. Quincy's cranial cinemas sometimes involved a heated exchange with a prodding instructor. Sometimes it was a cringe when an old friend shuffled by in the academy hallway, like they never knew one another. Some nights, of course, he saw the crash. This one, though, Quincy was haunted by the same two phrases ping-ponging back at one another off the inside of his head as angrily as he and Percy had said them. "You're more like your father than you realize. If that were true, he'd still be here." Stomp up the stairs, door crash, face and pillow. Light split the sky in the best way a living beacon of heat and light could imitate a sunrise at around 8. No one inside the tower now could say they knew otherwise. Sunrise was little more to them than part of an obscure history lesson. The world outside Quincy's window reprogrammed itself for active hours. The column Quincy had seen dance with lightning last night faded into the illusion of an open sky. It was almost as hard to believe as it was certain that all the people going about their business outside were trapped in the 100-square-mile platform of a terraformed steel tower. Quincy's concerns were a bit more concise that morning, though. Get through the front door without talking to Uncle Percy. Quincy's escape meant the Terror Rangers had failed. It wasn't a story anyone would see on the news, which didn't make it any easier to explain to his uncle why he'd come in so far past curfew, shaken and battered. "Morning," Percy said from the rim of his steaming black mug. Quincy said into his collar as he crept by. It was a routine they'd mastered in the last year. Each time he'd come home outside Strand-approved hours, Quincy hurried past his uncle with an increasingly pathetic pass at a reason. This time, he went straight for the door. There was no way he could bridge true understanding anymore. There was no understanding between someone in his uncle's position and someone in his. "You were bleeding." Percy stopped him within an inch of the door. "I told you." "Right. So when the counselor calls to set up our next meeting, we're sticking with, 'He clipped his head on a low branch,'" said Percy. He knew better than to push Quincy now, when everyone else had a hand on his back already. Quincy honestly considered pouring it out, burning mural and all, but he couldn't. The last thing Percy needed was to be an accomplice to defacing Strand property. "Tell him whatever you want. He'd believe anything at this point." Quincy let out while he turned the knob. "I hope your tests come back the way you want," Percy bade him authentically. Quincy hesitated mid-exodus to mutter, "Don't waste your hope." The door sealed him outside in temperate winter air. Quincy spared a thought for the younger self of 5 years ago. He would have been excited just to connect the dots of what he learned in the academy about plants' growing cycles to why Strand enforced an artificial winter inside humanity's last refuge. For fourth-term High Academy Quincy, it was little more than a pain in the ass on the way to the station at the end of the street. pulled his collar over his chin with a shiver and made his daily suburban dead man's walk to the A train. The massive craft glided in the same as every other weekday, like a gust of wind. It slid, near frictionless, to a sudden halt at the edge of the platform where Quincy was lost in a cluster of 20 adolescent bodies all clothed alike. They donned plain black collared shirts, save for the ones that had been fitted for an augment. They had a single bright patch sewn on, an admittedly stylish icon of their chosen future. Chosen, Quincy scoffed to himself. He buried his aching hands in the pockets of his dark slacks. The train doors slid open. The warm breath from inside acted as a vacuum for the attendants of Green Knolls High Academy. Quincy packed in with a hand on the overhead rail and found himself locked in an odd sort of showdown. Ellie? He almost said aloud. She wasn't in her usual seat, the one cleared by her train pass. Quincy had one similar, with a few glittering flight risk warnings that made his spot by the window under the grip rail. It usually put him nowhere near Ellie, but today she was facing him. He should have known something was wrong just then. As fate would have it, Quincy was too stunned. He gazed absently into the hearths of his neighbor's haunted violet eyes. They were the only part of her that didn't glow like a ray of sunlight, despite her dark uniform. They seemed more to smolder like coals, even when she smiled. She and Quincy opened their mouths, if only a side effect of strangely sustained eye contact, just before the arrival horn ushered everyone into the tunnels beneath the academy. Quincy's 1.5 minutes to report to his first class didn't afford him any more absent stares for Ellie Corello. Stitching class went by even slower than usual, while scenes from his encounter with the Bolt Rangers flashed behind his tired eyelids. By basic ceramics, Quincy was fully asleep, sitting upright. He dreamed up a twisted version of his next fit counseling meeting, where Uncle Percy finally snapped and held him down, while Counselor Coral forced a shard of jagged metal into the empty port in his chest in place of an augment. "Quincy, please," Mr. Frigg called to him through the fatigue-induced twilight. Cartography? Quincy jolted upright. He had somehow changed classrooms on full autopilot. He paced the emptying aisles of desks as if to the gallows, where Instructor Frigg held out a paper. It was either his ticket to an augment fitting or the topic of his next fit counseling meeting. "Please sit," was all Counselor Coral could bring himself to say to open the meeting the next day. How will Quincy's fit counseling meeting go? What can him, his uncle, and his counselor possibly concoct to save him from the fate that Strand has planned for him? You're going to have to stay tuned for the next chapter to find out. I hope you guys are enjoying this reading of Strand the Silver Radio, and you can get in on getting a free copy in exchange for an honest review by commenting on this video. Some other interesting features coming to the Roadside Writer community are now the ability for you to review me as a business on Google. And this is super important for growing the community and expanding opportunities for everyone. The more people know about my free and paid content, the wider the circle grows and the greater capability I have to bring you guys quality writing help. Be on the lookout for new writing video series with kind of different approaches I haven't used before. Lastly, in my news section here, I'd like to tell you guys my website is now open for book review requests. That's right. The Roadside Writer is now opening the door to be the Roadside Reviewer. So if you're struggling to get the word out about your creative project and it's on Amazon or somewhere that you can provide me a free digital copy of it, feel free to submit your book information on my website. I'll be including a link to that page in the description of this video and videos coming after. I've got experience as both a ghostwriter and author myself. If you'd like your book reviewed at no cost to you in exchange for a free copy for me, I would love to do that, and I'll post my reviews on Amazon, Goodreads, and my blog. And if you would like to start supporting the Roadside Writer, it's as simple as clicking like, subscribe, and hitting the bell icon right here on YouTube. You can also become a patron and help fund things that I pay for out of pocket, like my website and ebook productions. Any little amount that you can donate is such a huge help. If you need more intense writing help, please subscribe to my website, where I do writing help in written form and feature different resources for writers and readers. And also consider buying my course, The Basics of Plotting a Novel, for only $20, especially if you struggle with the plotting aspect of writing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, take care, and please don't stop believing in yourself. Roadside Writer, out.